Food inflation is the worst type of inflation, right? I mean, you could make a case that energy, yes, energy is very important as well. That's staying low. Thank goodness oil has not run tremendously. But at the same time, everyone has to eat. So whether you're rich or you're poor, you have to eat. And that type of inflation is the most pervasive and the most negative overall for people out there. So just a little tidbit here, as the Fed is likely going to be cutting rates next week. Remember, next week we have the Federal Reserve meeting. They're expected to cut 25 basis points. Cutting rates creates more liquidity in the market, and we can be expecting to see a potential uptick of inflation when we get the PPI numbers this week and the CPI numbers this week, which again are those inflation gauges.
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. In this video, Gareth Soloway shares why Bitcoin could soar above $100,000 and breaks down strategies to become a winning trader and investor in crypto. Let's catch him up to learn more.
Bitcoin is pulling back to 99,100. It's bouncing a little bit pre-market. Don't forget we have a doji here on the chart. So let's go over what a doji is. What the heck is a doji here? So a doji basically is a candle where you have a heavy volume, right? So at the highs of a chart. So it has to, by the way, you get dojis all the time, right? I mean, here's a doji. Here's a doji, right? It's these smaller candles with closes. The dojis that I pay attention to are at the highs of charts. They have a ton of volume, which this candle did, right? Because it was the move up to 104,000, then the reversal to 92,000. And you want to look and say, okay, this is a big candle. So notice the size of this from high to low versus this is minor, and these were at the highs of the charts, right? So those are the things you want to pay attention to. And that tells you that essentially price was run up, and then because of the high volume, big money was selling into this, and essentially price met. The buyers and the sellers met in a battle, and it was a stalemate. Now, it's a stalemate, so you don't know who's going to win on this. But as a technical trader with the high volume, you have to take note that it was a stalemate. Does that mean that we're starting to run out of buyers for Bitcoin in the short term? For those of you that are hardcore Bitcoiners, don't worry, I'm not talking about the long term. I'm bullish long term still. But I have to look at this on the short term to see if there's a potential top signal. And really, the way you treat this is very simple. And again, I love technicals in the way that how simple it is made for us. What we do is we say, okay, you have a doji here. We're unsure about the direction. So how do we know which direction is going to move? Simply put, you'd use the high. If price closes above the high of the doji, you're headed towards 107 to 108, right? Those are those upside targets that I had early on, right? That's the upside max there based on the parallel channel that runs back to the 2017 highs. Here, if we take out the lows, now you have a bigger breakdown because you've now violated the low of the doji, which is around 92,000 to 91,000, and you look for further downside. So it's very simple to just monitor this. Right now, the bulls will tell you, okay, the bulls are still in charge. The bears will tell you the bears are in charge now because of the doji. In reality, we don't know, but we're going to watch. A violation here, bears are in charge. A violation here, bulls are still in charge. Simply done. So 104 and 92. Those are your two levels to watch, all right? And again, if we break below 91, 92, 75-ish could be a potential downside target. And if we get above 104, then you at least get up to 107 to 108. We'll watch and see if we get beyond that. All right, so again, just kind of explaining the doji pattern there and how to trade it appropriately. Let's look at gold real quick here, guys. If we bring up gold on the charts, gold is actually having a good move to the upside. So this looked like the bear flag was going to play out, and then you're getting a nice bid today to the upside. Just remember, as long as you have this wide range reversal candle, then this technically would be bearish price action, right? So again, we could draw a parallel in here. This again is sideways chop. Nonetheless, it's a good strong day on gold today. I saw GDX was having a good day, but keep in mind, you're still within this wide range red reversal candle here. So on a technical basis, the bias is slightly to the negative side. It's not as negative as it was over here when it looked like it was going to break down, but again, it's still within this wide range red bar, so it still has a slight negative bias.
Bitcoin begins the week on a volatile note, briefly surpassing the $100,000 milestone, but encountering stiff resistance near $94,000. This critical level has emerged as a focal point for traders, with analysts emphasizing an imbalance that could magnetize price action before further upward movement. Despite this pullback, Bitcoin's structure remains technically intact, and its prospects hinge on a confluence of macroeconomic factors and institutional interest. Market conditions signal consolidation, with resistance zones identified between $110,000 and $120,000. These levels are shaped by trader psychology and realized price data, underscoring the choppy nature of current price action. Inflation metrics and Federal Reserve decisions are expected to inject additional volatility. The upcoming Consumer Price Index (CPI) and Producer Price Index (PPI) reports will play a pivotal role, as markets anticipate another 25 basis point rate cut to bolster economic activity. Global developments also present opportunities. China's announcement of rare fiscal easing for 2025 could enhance global liquidity, providing long-term support for Bitcoin and other risk assets. Meanwhile, corporate adoption remains in the spotlight. Microsoft's pending vote on adding Bitcoin to its treasury could set a precedent for institutional uptake, echoing MicroStrategy's pioneering moves. Bitcoin's path forward hinges on reclaiming $98,000 as a support level. Until then, traders remain cautious, navigating a market poised between short-term consolidation and the potential for significant growth.
This was the jobs report on Friday. You could see the immediate reaction. Then the opening move when the stock market opened. So this was pre-market. Again, the 10-minute chart we're looking at. So each of these is 10 minutes long. Again, there's your push up at the beginning. And then notice how the S&P stalled out and went sideways into the end of the day, closing right here. Then this morning at 4 in the morning, we saw a little bit of an uptick and then a lot of sideways chop. Essentially, the S&P 500 is basically on the flat line, give or take. But that does not tell us what the internals are doing here, and I do want to discuss that. In fact, one of the keys that we're going to discuss today is inflation, because it does appear that inflation is starting to rear its ugly head. And don't forget, later this week, we're going to get CPI on Wednesday and PPI data on Thursday. So CPI is Consumer Price Index, and that, again, is an inflation gauge. All right, so we have that number there. If we take a look at the S&P on the daily chart, I want to just draw your attention with all these arrows to the key factors here. You have these levels all along here where this trend line has been major, right? So here you were above the line, bouncing off the line. Here you consolidated on the line. Here's your arrow, and then you got your breakdown. And notice this breakdown was your August swoon in the market, where we had that very volatile decline on the S&P and the NASDAQ. Then we came back up, and we went right back to that line, right back to the line, and line. So the idea here is that using logic and analysis, it tells us that max upside on the S&P is to this line, which is just a little bit above 6,100. Again, doesn't guarantee that we have to get there, but the idea is that the upside amount of gain now is very, very, very small on the S&P versus the potential for a down move. And you can see, again, maybe we got a little arrow here pointing with a little upside, and then the likely scenario is a corrective move. We also have our cycle date coming up around the 15th of the month. Just remember, it doesn't tell you that we're going to drop sharply off of that cycle date. It should basically tell us that there's going to be a change in character at the market, potentially making lower lows and lower highs. But still remember, it's before Christmas and New Year's, so very unlikely we'll see major sells till January comes, all right? All right, so there's your S&P 500, but just be prepared, guys. I've talked about taking a put position on the S&P. If we were to get up to that line, that's kind of what I'm waiting for in terms of a large put position.
Michael Saylor, co-founder of MicroStrategy, has unveiled a bold vision for Bitcoin, projecting its value to reach an astonishing $13 million per coin by 2045. This represents a staggering 13,021% increase from its current levels, underscoring Saylor's belief in Bitcoin's transformative potential as the foundation of a new financial era. Comparing Bitcoin's adoption trajectory to groundbreaking innovations like electricity, Saylor envisions its market capitalization soaring from $2 trillion today to $280 trillion over the next 2 decades. Central to Saylor's thesis is Bitcoin's role as digital capital. Its attributes, programmability, decentralization, and resistance to inflation. position it as a revolutionary store of value in an era marked by economic instability. These features, Saylor argues, make Bitcoin an ideal asset for corporations and governments seeking portable, programmable wealth storage. MicroStrategy has actively championed this vision, leveraging financial tools such as convertible bonds to fund significant Bitcoin acquisitions. Saylor has even pitched Bitcoin adoption to corporations like Microsoft, presenting it as a superior alternative to conventional financial strategies, including stock buybacks and bonds. If Bitcoin achieves the $13 million mark, it would not only redefine wealth management but also establish itself as the cornerstone of global financial systems. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to BitcoinZella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.